Ooh, text message. Oh, from Matt Morosi. He says, "Hi, guys. I saw the shots that you took at me during the Spider-Man review. I hate you. I need you to review The Matrix as punishment, but you have to be upbeat and say nice things. Otherwise, Warner Brothers check won't cash. Talk to you later. LOL, ROFL, and then every smiley face." He has to stop sending text messages. He's no good at that.
Wait, we have to review The Matrix now?
Yeah, The Matrix.
The new one?
Everybody, and welcome to this edition of the Nerdthusiast Movie Podcast. I am Dane DeFeo, your reluctant host during this episode. I have a guest with me.
I'm not so reluctant.
Really? We are going to do The Matrix Resurrections this week. Resurrections this week. I should know exactly the movie. Resurrections, even though it doesn't really matter. The fourth Matrix movie, the one that didn't need to be made. But we'll get into that. At the top of the show, we go over things like Patreon, very important. Check out things like Instagram. We are Nerdthusiast at Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Are there more? Do any other ones matter besides like Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook? Patreon, very important. Patreon.com/nerdthusiasts. We have exclusive content up there for people who can give us ideas as far as what movies to review, even though we just make it up.
We don't have a choice anyway.
We don't have a choice. Matt tells us what to do, depending on who pays him that week. First of all, we're going to get into a little bit of the plot of the movie and also why it sucked. And if you have seen it, I'm sorry. If you haven't seen it, you're welcome, because we're going to tell you all the reasons why you probably shouldn't see it. Okay. We'll find a silver lining, like the end credits, and then we'll kind of go through it. So. Really quick here, Mike. This is the fourth Matrix movie. After Matrix, Matrix Reloaded, and Matrix 3.
Revolutions.
Revolution
was the third, if I recall. You and I, we saw that in theaters together, didn't we?
I think we did. Yeah.
Back when we were at Stockton.
I think so, yeah, because that was right around 2004, 3, 4. Yeah. The first one was 99. I remember that. Mm-hmm. That one, every single person owned that on DVD, at least one copy. And we all watched the behind-the-scenes stuff when we were
blown away.
When we were teenagers, trying to figure out how bullet time worked.
That movie changed cinema, really did, and VFX.
Yeah, it really did
in general.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then they progressively got worse, I think.
Yeah.
The less you know about The Matrix, it's like the better. Because like the first one, you didn't know a whole lot about, and it doesn't spend the entire movie explaining itself.
Right.
And that worked really well. And then every movie after that, it tried to explain itself more, and then it just got a little bit worse, or a lot of it worse. Without doubt. It culminated in this, which I didn't think we were ever going to get this movie. And I don't think we needed to get this movie, if we're being honest. Doesn't this movie take a jab at itself like really early on too? It's like Warner Brothers is gonna make this movie one way or the other, so we might as well just make it. Literally is what's his face's line? Jonathan Goff's line.
Yeah.
He's like, Warner Brothers is gonna make this movie, so we should just make it. It's like, what?
And if anything, that is Lana Wachowski's way of saying, that's her Michael Corleone movie. Every time I think I'm out, they pull me back in.
He's like, I don't want to make it, but they're going to make it anyway.
Yeah, so I think they were done.
You said it best because we were texting about this. You said it best. They literally tried to make the first three movies again into one movie.
Yeah,
you're right. It really
really do think that way.
It really is. It feels that way, and it's like the storyline is like it's so. It seems so. It seems like fan fiction. I'm sorry. It does. It does. The story itself seems like really bad fan fiction. It's like he's a game designer. He's a game designer. He was a coder before, right? Now he's a game designer.
He was a hacker. So
yeah, exactly. He made the Matrix game, which was the first three movies. That's literally the storyline, and he believes it all because they rebuilt him,
right?
Because they need his power because he's so strong. I don't. But it turns out he's not the only one, and it's
right.
It's just so. It just. I was so bored with this movie too, and I'm sure you were.
Yeah.
Like,
oh god.
Yeah. So, but how could you? Why should you be bored in a Matrix movie? That doesn't make any sense to me.
Right.
You know, especially because it talks about like, oh, we have to have action scenes and bullet time. Like, bullet time is even a part of the story, which is so. I don't even understand that.
It's almost kind of like they forgot to really be innovative with the movie. It was like the movie was trying to be so meta and so self-referential that it just turned into gobbledygook. And then I mean, look, I don't know how long they actually, from like start to finish, they had like planned to make this movie, but God, just everything about it, from like the sets to the special effects to the writing to the story to the way it was distributed, even, and the advertising.
Yeah,
like true. It was all just like, let's just do it real quickly. You know what I mean? They spent $190 million to make it.
Well, apparently.
By the way, they've crossed the $100 million mark. Congratulations.
I guess it's going to probably.
Congratulations, Matrix Resurrections.
It may make enough money to warrant another movie, but.
Well, I think that they've said that there are no plans to do that. This is one of those things where it's like they made a movie, and because they tried to cram 3 movie plots into one, it's a movie that would have. It's a plot that would have been better served as a miniseries. 6 episodes or something like that. You know what I mean? Even if it was like The Mandalorian or something where they're like 30 or 40 minutes long.
Yeah, that's true.
Just get a quick point across. This way we don't have to keep hammering it home, because they kept trying to go back to like the video game aspect of it.
Well, the worst thing for me, this is the thing I really hated about the movie, is the cross-cutting to the old footage, which then like highlighted just how bad this movie looked, because it's like, wow, look how good the first Matrix looked. It's so filmic and beautiful and cinematic, and then you cut to this movie, which is like a really high-end wedding.
Right.
Which like, it blew me away that they kept cutting back and forth to that, and I was like, we've seen the movies. We don't have to show us that. Don't show us Smith talking. You said the same line. We know. We remember. We watched them.
Right.
Like we've seen these. Like nobody's going to go into this movie being like, I've never seen Matrix. What's the fourth one? No, they're going to have to watch the others first.
It's sort of like they kept referencing themselves. Yeah. And they thought that maybe that would be tongue in cheek, but then they would explain it. Yes. They're like, I can't even think about it, but what does he say? He's like, what was the first line that Morpheus says to him? I forget, but he says it, and then he's like, by the way, I said that because that was the first line.
Yeah, it's like, we know.
It's like, I know.
We've seen the movie 100 times.
Right. It would be like Smith saying, Mr. Anderson. It's like, I said Mr. Anderson because I said.
Remember when I said that?
But you remember when I was the other guy from the Lord of the Rings, but that wasn't really me. It's like, yeah, I know, we get it.
Hugo Weaving was supposed to be in this movie, but his schedule had conflict, so they got me instead.
Right. Exactly.
I remember reading an interview though with or an article about Keanu. I think Carrie Moss said it too. Like they didn't rehearse a lot of stuff. He said they just would jump into scenes, and I think it's pretty obvious, and just do like one and done type stuff or improvise. Like they didn't even like rehearse a lot of stuff. He said, which I do feel bad for Keanu Reeves in this movie, because like there's so many scenes where like people just talk at him, and he goes, yeah, oh, yeah, no, huh, oh, no. Oh.
He doesn't say it though. He doesn't say it.
But like there's long scenes where like there's 20 minutes of people like telling him what happened. He's like, okay, I'm good. Now I'm good. I'm just gonna go. Right. I'm gonna go back. He doesn't want to even do this movie. He's just like, nah, I'm good. I'm just gonna take the other pill and like go home and sleep and go my
He definitely doesn't.
and play with my ducky. Come out.
Ducky.
Jada Pinkett Smith's character, Niobe, whatever. She has like a 30-minute dialogue with him, like where they're walking in like that garden thing or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's like I fell asleep during that. I couldn't even watch it. I was just like, what? Because she's talking about what happened to Zion and the IO, whatever. They're in IO now. Right. Like, I don't know.
Because everything's binary.
There's so much exposition in this movie that I was like, holy shit. Like, there's got to be better ways to show the movie.
I think the reason it's so exposition heavy is because they're trying to cram 3 movies into one. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like in the first 30 minutes, they're like, you're Neo, let's go over Neo, take the pill, do this, do that. And then the whole next part of it where he's out of the Matrix, we think, maybe, probably, sure. We have to explain the whole concept that the whole second movie did, which was just cities. And then we have to explain, basically they're like, look, that other city, who cares about that one? Because we can't rebuild the sets. So so we'll just do these ones on a green
screen. These sets are better. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Digital.
Meanwhile, the ones that we're doing right now are made out of balsa wood. Okay. You're going to be fighting in those in a little bit.
There's so many problems. You can't even like every scene I just kept finding things. Like we were talking about the Merovingian scene.
The Merovingian.
Merovingian scene was so bad. I was like, why is he homeless? What is going on here? He's just yelling. And they're like, oh, some old friends are not happy to see you. And it's like, why? Ugh.
For a second, it looked like Benedict Cumberbatch, actually.
And he's just yelling at Neo. And he's just like,
he looked like an old prospector.
Your old friends are not happy to see you. Right. It's like, okay, yeah, I'm sure they're not. Like, I didn't understand, like, was it every time that he, like, died or something happened, it, like, would jerk him back to, like, his therapist, you know, the analyst, Neil Patrick Harris? Was that what was happening? Right. Like, every time he experienced anything non-Matrix-like, he would just reappear to his therapist, and then it would reset
I always kind of figured that was a result of him not accepting the Matrix. Him always taking blue pills. Right. So in a sense, by the fact that he hasn't taken the red pill allows him to be pulled out of however the rebellion is trying to pull him back out of the Matrix. So if he doesn't accept his reality and take the blue pill, at any moment the Neil Patrick Harris can pull him back to the couch.
Right.
It's kind of what maybe I thought about it.
I don't understand like the whole like machines betrayed them, whatever. They're so powerful, but yet they rebuild him without like a fail-safe of being like, well, melt him down now. You know what I mean? Like, wouldn't you just be like, oh, he ain't working, melt him down? Like, wouldn't you just have, as a machine, wouldn't you have like a kill switch on him?
Like, I know. Hey, just make another one.
Yeah, he ain't working. Just melt him down and we'll rebuild him again because he's screwed up. You know, wouldn't you have that? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me that, oh, he's getting out. And then Smith betrays them, you know, the machines because he wants to be free. It's so convoluted. I can't even follow it. Like, I don't even know what to tell you about.
Like, that's what was good about the first Matrix was, like you said, it's like if you don't explain everything, right? You can have a simpler story, even though the Matrix was a little complicated between a couple of worlds and flashback stuff and strange things that don't get explained really much until maybe the end of the movie.
Right.
Whereas this one was just
their answer to tell you everything.
Like, let's just explain you know what I mean?
Tell you everything about everything.
It was just blabber, 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 blabber. And
the fighting is not good. The choreography,
and the fighting, and that's what I was gonna say. It's like, or you at least have some cool shit.
Yeah, because that's what could bail out. That, you know, Reloaded was bailed out by. I mean, it had poor CG, but it was bailed out by some really cool choreographed scenes.
Right.
Which were like, at the time you're like, wow, that's not been done before. That helped it, you know, at least get you through it. And then Revolutions kind of goes off the rails too.
Well, Revolution also had that fail-safe of awesome machine-on-machine battle with guys in mechs and stuff. And cool shit.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Something different. Yeah, you're right. It's
anything
different.
Really cool in this movie. I keep going back to like the stupid fight right after Morpheus shows up, and then it's like there are sprinklers going off. Like, I mean, that was the big visual element of that part. And then,
well, Bugs, like Jessica Henwick, her character, she gets to do some cool stuff where she's like flipping, flying around, jumps down a light post or whatever.
But again,
but you're right.
Those are not 60-year-old people doing it.
The dojo scene was pointless. Like,
yeah.
Oh, I still know Kung Fu. And then he blasts him through a wall. And it's like, okay.
Right.
And then he's like, I'm not the same. I can't fly. That was kind of funny, though, when he tries to jump. Like, nothing happens. Like, yep, that's this movie.
Right.
Tries to fly, and it's like a wet fart. And Neo's like, I can't do that anymore.
Right.
But, sorry, guys.
Right. But I can take rockets and throw them, which was kind of take a rocket and throw it.
I can still use the Force, but I can't fly anymore, unfortunately. Sorry, guys. But don't worry. Somebody else can fly. You'll see.
Right. A person who really has no history of like doing awesome shit in the Matrix necessarily. Well, she does. And I guess she does, but
yeah, I don't know. It's just this is the kind of movie that needed like 12 more rewrites to even be considered being made first. Like somebody should have took the original script like, hold on, there's some problems with this movie.
Right.
We need to parse down some of the.
We finally got like 3 people that we wanted to be involved to say yes. Okay. Carrie Ann Moss, I don't think was doing anything. She couldn't have changed her schedule for. And other than, I guess, maybe the John Wick movies. Well, and Bill and Ted, I don't know. I mean, I guess Keanu Reeves is always busy. But
the only thing on his slate is John Wick, so.
Right.
He's got time for Matrix.
Yeah, I guess he does.
Why was Morpheus recasted? Like, and I know Hugo was busy. Like Hugo had a scheduling conflict. That's why he couldn't be in the movie. But he wanted to do it. His schedule wouldn't allow it. Well, why wasn't Lawrence Fishburne back? I mean, because it's so jarring.
And people asked Lawrence Fishburne about that, and I think his answer was like, ask them. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Why wouldn't you have him? I know he's not that busy. I mean, he's a good actor, but he's not. You know, I can't imagine he's busy for. Hell, he's in John Wick. Like,
yeah,
right. They can get Keanu. They can get Lawrence back. But it's so jarring to see these characters, and then they'll be like, oh, but it's still me. I'm the old one. Just I look different. I don't know. It doesn't work for me. You know what I mean? It's Spider-Man wouldn't have worked if it was like, oh, it's me, Doc Ock from from the second movie.
Right.
I wasn't available, so they cast somebody else instead. Yeah, it just doesn't work. Like there's no point. And to me, it would have been like, well, we can't do these movies then if we don't have like the storyline doesn't work if I don't have the original characters. That's what I would have said. I was like, I have to have these actors for this to make sense. Instead, they were like, nah, let's wing it. Go for it. Well, we'll just explain it through dialogue. I look different, don't I? I look younger, don't I?
Yeah.
Like my new look? How do you like my new look? I didn't get Morpheus' whole thing because he was like some weird like he was, metaphysical form. Like he would transform into some kind of like I don't even know what it was. It was like some binary version, digital version of himself.
It was that aspect of it makes sense in a sense why they didn't have. I mean, you could have had Lawrence Fishburne be this character, but the idea was that Morpheus, we get to see Morpheus before he gets unplugged. Now, in this case, he's not a person. He's just he's just the written version of Morpheus as written by Neo. So then the humans unplug him. And I don't know. I'm trying to explain a movie that truly doesn't need explanation. You know what I mean? It's what a dud.
I didn't realize that. This is interesting. According to Lana Wachowski, the reason why she wanted to do this movie in general and to make the sequel was because both her parents died 5 weeks apart, and it was her way of like dealing with the loss by going back to these two characters. But for the other Wachowski, Lily, it was her reason not to go back to these characters because she didn't want to go back through the pain of losing her parents by revisiting these characters. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
All right.
One of them was like, let's go do it. The other was like, no way. No way. And it's, I mean, one was right,
right.
as comforting as it might be to go back to these characters. I don't think the problem is this movie didn't do anything for those characters. If anything, it cheapened their whole, history.
Well,
It's like kind of the same problem that Star Wars has with some of its characters.
It made them important in that the idea was that because they, it's sort of like that will they, won't they powers the Matrix. You know what I mean? I think the explanation was like they, the fact that they were so close but they weren't together was creating more power out of them because they're batteries. But to your point, if you just have a problem with it, it's just like, all right, so make 2 batteries. Just get 2 humans instead of trying to fix this one broken one. Just get another.
But don't let them touch. Don't let them touch.
Right. Don't let them touch.
No.
Don't let them cross the streams.
A movie you enjoyed?
Yes.
It's just another case of like, this movie just didn't need to be made, And I agree with you. I think a series idea would have been a lot stronger, especially since it got dumped on HBO Max right away. That actually would have made a lot of sense. Make it a 6-part series. Like that actually, I think has far more chance of success than what we actually got, because you're trying to cram so much into 2.5 hours,
right?
And it just doesn't work. It's a mess in so many ways. And can we talk about the VFX for a second? Because
sure.
This is something that you and
let's discuss this again, because
all right, you and I have done some video work, and I have done plenty of VFX work in my time. I'm not an expert by any means, but let me tell you, that red pill effect, when I saw it, I was like, I know that effect because I use that in Premiere still, like the wave warp distort, whatever it is,
right.
The ripple distort, I was like, I know this effect. I've used this, and I would never think to use this in a movie like this. I could see it, I could very clear as day see what effect it was, and I was like, wow, this is rough. This is really bad. And just the weird, the fighting sequences, even in the trailer, had some very weird effects, like when Trinity's fighting, that ripple effect, and I was like, wow, that looks really bad. It looks really bad. It looks low budget. I don't have, like you were saying, the Google free effects, Google free fighting effects, and you can get what you're looking for.
Right. It's like they downloaded the Matrix plugin.
Yes. The ripple punch pack,
Right.
It's like, use that, go with that one. It's like, there's $190 million in this movie. We couldn't create better VFX. What?
I know.
I mean, there's some of it is very pretty too. Like some of the cinematography, there's some great, sections, and then there's some truly awful, man, where was this shot? Where was this shot?
It's sort of like the movie couldn't live up to the idea that the first one was so groundbreaking. Then they kept pushing the limits in the sequels as best they could have at the time. Now it's different because now we've hit that Moore's Law idea where things keep doubling and doubling and doubling until the Matrix was down here, and now we're up here. And it just
yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean?
This movie feels like it got left behind. It feels like it's
without a doubt. They're like, well, all right, look, we have an idea. We're gonna have 100 guys run after the bad guys, and it's like, okay, but after the Matrix came out, we had Lord of the Rings and their massive engine.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? You already did the battle where there were 50 Agent Smiths against one guy. So come up with something else. And that's what I mean is I think maybe the movie was probably just made too quickly. It was just one of these things where they're like, okay, in those scenes where they have all the millennial, I guess, kids who are just like, all right, here, look, what was cool was bullet time.
Oh, yeah,
so we got to make something like bullet time and stuff like that. And
yeah, the movie's self-referencing itself for 10 minutes.
I know. Oh God, I hated that because
the end of the movie is there's zombies, right? It's like zombies,
right?
And it's like, where did this come from? What?
I mean, well, that was horde mode.
Horde mode. You're right. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. A new feature that the Matrix has equipped.
Right. Which was interesting. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but
there are some ideas that could have worked.
It was just a swing and a miss. Think of the concept of what if that was a early major plot point where you had Neo and Trinity and the rest trying to, in a sense, do like this would be like an episode of like one of the series where it's like the horde mode is going on out there and they have to get out. So you could have a horror element, which they were trying to do a little bit in the movie, but you could have like a horror element within the Matrix, which is interesting.
Yeah.
And that took me 3 seconds to come up with, as opposed to whatever the hell they did for $190 million. I mean, every now and then we watch a movie and I'm like, well, look, I hate this movie, but it's not like I could do better.
Yeah, and I mean,
I think I could do better.
Yeah, I mean, the Matrix has always been kind of convoluted, but
yeah,
this movie doesn't help it, and it's like it's somehow worse with all the explanations. It's like when I keep saying, like when I knew less about the movies, I felt like I understood them more. Now that I like am being told more, I'm like, I don't really know. I really don't know what's going on. Really don't. I don't know. It's a big missed opportunity, I think, because I think a lot of us were kind of excited at the prospect of a new Matrix. You know, I didn't think we were going to get one. I didn't necessarily know that we necessarily needed one, but I was like, oh, cool. We're going to get like another Matrix. Like, this is going to be fun. Like, and honestly, the first trailer I saw, I was like, okay, I'm interested. It looks like it might have some, some interesting stuff going on. The second trailer, I think, is what put me in the bad direction. I was like, oh, this looks, there's some cracks showing here. There's problems. And I kind of got the story from the second trailer. I was like, oh no, why did they do that? I was more hoping that like Neo wasn't even real anymore. It was just like, it was just fake. You know what I mean? I was hoping I would have went that direction. Like he's gone. Right. Like let's just, play with people and use this fake Neo as like, hope, make him the bad guy. That, you know what I mean? Like do something where, because he's gone, right? Him and Trinity are gone.
Right. They died.
Let them be dead. Right,
they died.
Be dead.
Of course, it is called resurrection, so I guess, but like
come up with new characters if you have to. Just the explanation for like why they brought him back is so nonsensical. Like, the machines couldn't think of a better way to power their world or whatever. But the only thing they could do is bring these two back, but keep them apart. Like what? What? Right.
Just don't let them touch. Don't let them touch.
Don't let the.
And then there were those moments where they're reaching for each other, and you're like, if anything, it's just so beating you over the head. It's there's no subtlety in the movie.
They shake hands? Don't they shake hands like early on in the movie?
Oh yeah, that's right.
Shouldn't that just break the whole Matrix down?
Right, everything should explode.
It shouldn't have been the end of the credits.
Right.
And then they just fly after that, like they fly out of the coffee shop.
I can't fly anymore.
I can't do that anymore. I just really want to know like what Keanu thought of this movie.
I'm sure.
I know in the interview he was like, if you have to, just see it at home. He was like, because they were asking,
he really say that?
They're like, should you see it in theaters or can you watch it at home? He was like, well, if you have to like watch it at home, I guess you could just watch it at home. It's like they're like, no, Keanu, no. Tell people they ought to see it in theaters. He's like, no, I mean if you got HBO Max and like just watch it at home. That's what I would do.
Yeah, that's what I do.
He's such a chill guy. Right? He's probably like, see it however you pirate it if you have to. I mean, that's what's made you so about, right?
That's true. Oh man, that would be the best way to watch the movie.
Isn't it what it's all about?
You watch like a 640 by 480 like with black bars on the top, like a rip, and then you got to blow it up.
I love when you go to movies now. They're like, you shouldn't watch a movie like this, and they have the little tiny screen. They're like, don't watch it like this, and then it zooms, and then it scales up, and it's like, you need to watch it like this.
Exactly. Meanwhile, they put it on an app that you can download on your mobile device. Right? Yeah.
No. We talked about this before we started too. Like it was like death knell to put this out right after Spider-Man. Yeah. Like.
Right. I mean, really, they should have held on to it probably for another 2 weeks. This way, I can't imagine anything great's coming out for Warner Brothers in January.
True. And they did also the same thing with Dune too, because they dropped Dune on HBO.
They dropped Dune on HBO the day before.
The day before. And it's like, how do you expect that movie to make its money? If you're
that movie did make.
It made money.
All
things considered. But I would have been sweating bullets as the director being like, yeah, we're screwed. This movie, who's going to go to the theaters now? It's on streaming. I don't know. Everything about it just feels like a straight to video on demand too. This movie, like when you think it feels like a straight to like when you go to when you went to Blockbuster back in the day, you're like, Dark Harvest 4 is out, Matrix 4 is out, guys. Let's go rent it. Let's see how bad it is. That's what it feels like. It feels like a direct to DVD rush release, like you're saying. Everything about it is rushed, and it's just like, hurry up, get it out. Like they could have really built this up to be like the movie event of the year, and you think about it, even though it's not. They could have like kept building it up slowly and been like, oh, next June the new Matrix is coming. The new
Matrix is coming out.
Yeah, they could have really teased it out and let people, at least build up the hype for it, and only left it in theaters and then, let it die there. But whatever, you know what I mean? It's just, you're right. Everything about it is just like, maybe they just saw it and they were like, well, there's no fixing it. Fuck it.
I mean, they also send it out. Like, I mean, everything about the movie that's bad is an example of what's the problem with movies nowadays. Like where it takes 5 cuts to show someone punching someone. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I'm convinced that that's cutting around. Not that I'm not trying to shit on Keanu Reeves, but the man's like 48 years old. Okay, or 50. Excuse me, he's 50 years old. Yes. Okay, and I remember watching The Man. What was it? The Man of Tai Chi, which he directed.
Yeah.
Which is about 7 or 8 years ago now. And there were wide shots, because that's a fairly low budget movie, but he directed it. And there are wide shots of him, because he's the bad guy, I think, in the movie. And he's fighting. And you see him, it's like, that's a slower Neo. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this one, he's getting to be a geriatric Neo.
It's just funny to me when you watch like these guys run, like, because that's where you really see like their age. Yeah. They all go through it. It's like, oh, I could tell you're not running that hard. No matter how much you crank the camera or the frame rate, I can tell that you are not running quickly. Man of Tai
just under crank when Keanu's running.
Yeah, but you're right though, because, and that was a big complaint of people, was like the original especially. There's a lot of long takes, wide shots and long takes. Sure. Not like this movie has so much cutting that you're just like, what? Where are we? Okay, what? Yeah, you're right. And it's like one punch is like 4 shots. You know what I mean? Where it's like in the past, you get, a couple seconds of a flurry of fighting, which was really cool. And that's what makes those scenes that much better. And you want to rewatch them because you're like, wow, look at those moves. Look at the way they, look at that choreography, the fight choreography.
It's sort of like, if anything, it's late. It's doing more work because you're lazy.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like if you can't choreograph a compelling fight scene to last 2 or 3 seconds worth of a shot, then the only other option. And I remember hearing Keanu Reeves talk about this a little bit, where he was talking about John Wick action, where he's like, where they're like, do you choreograph everything? And he's like, well, I kind of have a toolbox. He's like, there are so many judo throws and so many of this and so many of that. And so to me, that means you go up to Keanu and they go, okay, there's going to be a guy coming from over here, going over here, going over here. He's like, all right, I got a judo throw for this. I got to shoot in the foot here. I got that. Right. So then they get 5 cameras and then they shoot it.
Yeah.
And then they cut it up later. As opposed to taking the time, like if you look at especially the first Matrix.
Yeah.
You can only do it so many times because there's so much shit going on. But there are long takes.
Yeah,
there are long takes of these convoluted fight scenes and stuff.
I always remember too, even the opening scene with Trinity is phenomenal. Like seeing her whip ass in that first scene, it was like incredible because you didn't see anything like it yet. You know what I mean? Like, and it's so much more practical too. That's the other thing in the first movie. You know what I mean? Before we had the CG ability that we have now, so much more practicality involved with it. And I think, and it always plays better. It just does, it always plays better. Everything feels more vibrant and the hits feel better. You know what I mean? It's just, you can't beat it. It's just the look of it too is what really bothered me about this movie. I was like, I don't even feel like I'm watching The Matrix. I feel like I'm watching some weird, really super digital version of these characters.
Cinematographer won 2 Academy Awards.
I mean, not going to win.
And then he got involved with the Wachowskis. And the Wachowskis, he did, well, He did Jupiter Ascending, which is not as bad of a movie as people say. It's okay.
I like Cloud Atlas. It's out there.
And I didn't finish seeing Cloud Atlas for whatever reason.
Cool. It's out there.
Yeah.
It's hard to follow. It's like something you really gotta like dig in for.
Yeah.
He made didn't he do Gemini Man too? No.
Oh, did he? Oh, I don't know.
Shot Gemini.
No, they didn't. What's his name?
No, he shot it though.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
I'm looking at his resume. Pinocchio, House of Gucci.
I want to see that too. I'm sure that's better than this Matrix crap movie.
Infinity. Yeah, I mean, you don't have to watch it. You don't.
If you're a fan of the Matrix, which I think we
both were. I think we both were.
Yeah, without a doubt, I think we were. I mean, if we have to give up being fans of the Matrix because we're not fans of this movie, I think we're giving up being fans of the Matrix.
I think I'm okay with that. I think I can just, live with the first three.
Right.
As, whatever that means.
I mean, yeah, I can't imagine any point in my life I'm going to look at it and go, you know what? I can't wait to watch the fourth Matrix when I get home from work today.
Yeah. It's probably going to be even one of those movies. If I see it on TV, I'll go, nah, let's see what else is on. We'll see what else is streaming right now. It's a shame.
It is.
I mean, it's getting beat up really hard too. Some places are really killing it. I've seen some reviews that have just completely called it like the worst movie of the year, which I don't know if I'd put it that low. I haven't seen all of the worst movies of the year yet. So
yeah, it's true. We haven't seen them all yet.
You have more to watch, and we'll be subjected to more of those, I'm sure.
Right. That's right. Whoever decides to send us a check is who we're going to watch.
At least we're never going to sugarcoat it here. That's the thing.
It's true. The Matrix Awakens. Oh, that was that Matrix. That was that Unreal Engine.
The demo thing.
Matrix thing. Yeah.
I didn't check that out. I didn't see that.
It was only because people were like, you won't believe which one is really Keanu Reeves. And I looked at a still shot from it and I'm like, that's Keanu Reeves.
You're like, I know which one
like,
it is.
I know which one is which
You're
one.
like, I know exactly which one it is. Like, I've seen this dude in Cyberpunk. I know exactly which one the real Keanu Reeves is.
I'm waiting for that to actually get patched like 100 more times in order to actually play it.
I say, have you played it at all or no?
Nah, not at all yet.
It's
Is it better than the Matrix Resurrections?
Yes, it is.
Oh,
actually,
well, there you go.
Story-wise, it's more engaging. I'll say that.
Is it? All right. Well, then I guess I could have put 2.5 hours into that than the Matrix.
I will say that they've patched it. I mean, because I've been playing it on console. They patched it so much now that there's like no NPCs in the world anymore. So like, when you drive
they were
around,
doing nothing but causing problems.
It's empty. Like when I first played the game, it was like bustling, vibrant, like kind of like Grand Theft Auto. The last time I played it, it was so empty. Like you could drive through the city and it was completely empty. Like there was nobody in the street. There was not a car on the street, not a person walking. I was like, okay, now I see how it's running better. They eliminated all the other coding. It's literally just you in this world now until you reach an event that you have to like trigger a mission. It's still pretty rough. It's disappointing. That's the biggest thing. Much like this movie, it's very disappointing.
But it has Johnny Silverhand in it.
I think that was like a last-ditch effort to be like, shit, we need to make this game better. Or we need to give people a reason to play this game.
Because I got to be honest with you, I wouldn't know much about them. I mean, it is a CD Projekt Red.
Right, and that's why I was willing to give it a pass.
Yeah, I guess so. But
because I love Witcher 3. The game is, even 2 is amazing. But this game is not like that at all. Not at all.
So, all right. So let's wrap up the Matrix Resurrections. I think our recommendation is to watch the first Matrix instead. I'd
watch that three times over before I watch this.
I would probably watch it backwards. just hit rewind.
Go watch the behind the scenes, and it's a better movie than what you're going to get out of this, I think, by far. Sometimes nostalgia is, not worth the trip.
Yeah.
We talked about this too. Like this really is the season of like, nostalgia. I mean, I guess this is the kind of movies we're asking for now, since this is the only movies Hollywood's putting out, is like people are going to see the Ghostbusters and the Spider-Mans and the Matrixes, and then we're just going to keep getting them, you know. And it's funny because we reviewed Ready Player One first, and you know,
yeah,
that's like the king of like nostalgia and callback too. When you think about it, it's funny that that's kind of the
but
theme.
it really goes to show you how much better you can do it. You know,
it's true. Yeah, that's very true. It can be done right. You know, we've reviewed two movies on completely different spectrums of, you know.
True. Yeah.
You know how to kind of do these callbacks. And could you imagine if Spider-Man, you're watching Spider-Man and it's like cuts back to like Norman saying, "I'm somewhat of a scientist." You know, it's like, wow, we know the line.
I like that. I did like that line. They let that line sit in that movie too. Which again, in this movie, if it was made by the Wachowski at this point, it would have been like Norman would have been like, "I'm somewhat of a scientist myself." Two beats. Because I said that in the last movie that we made together. You remember that?
An interesting story. I actually said that too.
I actually said that.
Peter,
very much.
Yeah, he would explain it.
Oh, by the way, that was played by Willem Dafoe, and now I'm being played by...
He would spend 10 minutes explaining the whole line. And you're like, we got, you don't need to stop.
Christ. God, how stupid are we? We're so stupid we watched The Matrix Resurrections.
You're getting them confused now. They're all blending together.
Reloaded. I know it's not Reloaded because that's the second one, but Resurrections and Revolutions.
Revolutions is the third one.
Yes.
Just watch the first one.
Just watch the first one. And if anything, watch the second one, and then the world ended after the second one. Just so you don't need it. None of it needs to actually wrap up. The more open-ended you leave it, in the case of the Matrix, the better. Because I don't want to hear explanation.
What I love about watching Reloaded is like the big playground fight where it's like very clearly not CG, NCG. Like you could see very clear, like, okay, that's Neo. Nope, that's CG Neo. Nope, that's real Hugo. Nope, that's rubber knee. They all look so rubbery.
They do look rubbery.
So they look very PS2 era visuals. Hell, they should go back and remaster them. Make them look better. They have the technology. Actually, that's what they should have just done. Re-release and remaster. Do the George Lucas. Oh my God.
Right.
Somebody should just add for this. Yeah.
Just add more talking.
3 minutes.
To the
3 minutes of content. And then just re-release all of them. Oh my gosh. Why didn't Warner think of this? You just add 3 minutes of whatever garbage and then you re-release them in 3D or 12D or whatever. You know, and then you tease the next one at the end of the third one. Oh my gosh. I can't believe they didn't do this. Because think about it, it costs you nothing, right? Other than some advertising to put these movies back out.
Right. It's true.
That would have been really smart.
We should be running
George Lucas knew it was up.
He did.
That dude's sleeping on money right now.
He's been sleeping on money for a long time.
People complain about, him being gone, but the dude's not crying himself to sleep at night. What's he got? 200 billion?
He's got he sold out to Disney for $4 billion. And come on. He was already the first or second richest man in Hollywood.
His net worth is $8.5 billion.
Are you saying 8 or 80?
8.5.
8.
Actually, it says it's rounded up to 10. I mean, that's could be more.
You know what? I'd sleep soundly on 1/8 of that. Be perfectly fine.
I'd sleep soundly on 10 million. 10 million.
10 million
through the night just fine. Get me through.
All right, so let's wrap up the Matrix Resurrections.
Finally got the title right at the end.
Right, yes. On a scale of 1 to 10, we're in imaginary numbers here because you don't want to go see this movie. What was I going to say? And that's it. I'm out of steam. On the Matrix.
Please don't make us review another one of these.
I know. That's this week's edition of the Nerdthusiast Movie Podcast. Make sure you check us out on Patreon at patreon.com/nerdthusiast. follow us on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. And there's another one I'm not thinking of. The Truth Network. I'm telling you, we're going to get a Truth Network going. Okay. And then lose at least half of the audience. Go TikTok. Shit. Yes, we're on TikTok. I forgot about that. And Spider-Man one as well. Yeah, TikTok as well. And also patreon.com/nerdthusiast and nerdthusiast.com. Very important. Go to nerdthusiast.com. We always have everything that we post up there. And that'll be it. I will see Mike later on this evening, and I will see all of you, our fans, the next time.
On the next movie review, whatever that is.
Whatever that is. No, we know.
Hopefully it's a good one.
We're just not letting people know that
it's a secret,
A secret.
It's better not knowing.
Yes.
Right?
As we've learned.
Tease.
As we've learned. All right. See you later.